Lewis and Clark, America has looked westward to the Columbia River. It has been a river of hope, a shiny symbol of plenty, with its water and woods, its wheatlands, pastures, and power. For decades, the Pacific Northwest has lived on its vast forest resources. The crash of felled food and home and clothing, milk for the new babies, tires for the old car. Haul the logs to the river, then raft them down the stream, out to the Pacific, to Australia, to Africa, and Ireland. Timber. To 1/4 of the people of the Northwest, this echoing cry has meant life itself. Lumber that comes from 90 million acres of firs, spruce, pine. More than half of the nation's marketable lumber. But you cannot log forever. Saw and fire and blight claim the timber faster than it grows. So what of tomorrow? Boiling over rapids and cataracts, 10 million horsepower plunging relentlessly down to the sea. From the beginning of time, this power has roared unharnessed to the Pacific. Only the Royal Chinook, instinctively fighting its way upward to spawn, can defy the crashing falls and cascades. During countless ages, the river of the West has been untamed, conquered only by the salmon. Old Brother Bear is quite a fisherman, though he doesn't use any of that expensive tackle with cunning flies. In 1927, the immense power possibilities of the Columbia were surveyed and charted. At Bonneville, Oregon, man takes up the struggle against the frontier. Cascade Rapids makes way for Bonneville Dam. An army of skilled workmen, many of them jobless for years, labor at top speed to outwit the rising water. Together, they scoop up 4 million cubic yards out of the rock-studded depths of Cascade Rapids. At its foot, they throw up a 1-million-yard barrier of concrete. Day and night, sand and gravel and cement are mixed and poured. Plummeting 35 feet downward in its mad race against Cascade Rapids, the Columbia thunders an anthem of power. To bring better crops and better living to the farmers of the region. Power for the home. Good light, electric heat, electric cooking. Power to create useful goods for which a nation waits. Power to make the American dream come true. Today, Bonneville Dam stands completed. Just as the Nile is the lifeblood of the historic land it drains, so this river of the West is the key to the future of the Oregon country. Bonneville Dam opens up a region that has more than 13% of the nation's area, but less than 3% of its people. The largest single lift lock in the world has conquered Cascade Rapids. Riverboats soon will whistle to passing ocean steamers when the 27-foot channel for the big ships is completed. 500 feet long and 76 feet wide, Bonneville's lock opens the Columbia Seaway to the commerce of the world. Already, tonnage has tripled on the upper river, and to the farmer, the inland seaway means lower freight cost for every bushel of wheat. The salmon still swarm up the river to spawn, but they don't shoot the rapids anymore. A runway has been provided for them. The cycle of the life of the salmon is not disturbed. The building of the dam does not interfere with the supply of Chinook for the fisheries. They're swarming upstream, and it's easier than before. No leap up the rapids, just an easy swim. A vast new industry is rising, a symbol of the place of power in a new age. Huge metallurgical industries taking metal from the earth. But Bonneville is only one dam of the great development. Mighty Grand Coulee is another. Back of the Coulee is a story of blighted hopes and human despair. Man against the desert, and the desert won. A stone's throw of Columbia, greasewood and sagebrush have reclaimed their own. Once a thriving wheatland, now as parched as the sands of Arabia. 8 inches of rain, too little for any crop. A year or two, and the surface water was gone, and so were the farmers. Lives blighted, but now the Grand Coulee. Water. Water for rich brown earth spreading out as big as Delaware. The promise of an American destiny for 500,000 migrant people. When the dam here is completed, there'll be a flow of water for the desert land. Irrigation elsewhere gives us a picture of what is to come. Time was when this too was desert, barren, worthless. But irrigation has turned it into rich farmland, and bountiful crops are to be had for the growing and harvesting. Prophetic scenes of what is to come in the Grand Coulee area when the great dam is completed. The keystone of the entire Columbia development is hydro, the eternal power of the river. Stripping the Columbia of its energy, Bonneville is an ageless servant that will toil as long as the rain comes and the water seeks its birthplace in the sea. Here, mammoth generators will capture 500,000 kilowatts from a shackled giant. The voltage is stepped up 10 times. Power for 1 million people. Electricity is the lifeblood of the chemical industry. In the magic of the electrolytic cell, new products are born, and whirling atoms reshape the course of living. In the northwest corner of America, electric power furnishes employment and strengthens our defense. Power to forge weapons for national safety, safeguarding the liberty we know, so that the least of us may walk our way in freedom. Back of the American way of life is hydro, the controlled power of the river, the thrust of the turbine, the crescendo of the generator, humming a saga of man's triumph over a continent. A realization of the vision that Thomas Jefferson expressed in these words: a great, free, and independent empire. In the chaos of a troubled world, while other nations struggle for land and markets, America builds her own, her power and her glory, as she takes up the challenge of the Columbia.